I had a few friends that were really into electro music. This was still like mid-90s. Electro music, Miami bass, ghetto tech, Detroit techno, all that kind of stuff. Even old school 80s bits, Prince funk, you know, that kind of music. And like I said, I was into hip hop most of my youth. I listened to a lot of funk, and this music inspired me a lot. I was still playing drum and bass and jungle mainly, but I had bits and bobs of this electro stuff in my cases as well. We started doing parties together, especially here in Antwerp. They were called the Dozer parties, and the main ones took place at a squat, which is still a very popular party place today. The first one we did had about 200 people, the second one 400, the next one 700, and then it just burst out of control. We had parties attracting 1,000 people from all over Belgium, and I guess this is kind of where my DJ career took off, because people started noticing me, whereas before I'd mainly been playing to parties that got attended by my friends, really. So a lot of people started noticing me, and one of the people that did was the guy that runs 5 voor 12, 5 to 12. They run 10 days off, they run Night Cruiser, they have a club in Antwerp. Well, a big promoter really. And I became the resident DJ for their drum and bass nights. I played in Ghent and Antwerp basically monthly. And again, more and more people started to take notice. I think the first big event I ever played was It's Like a Jungle, the very first edition of It's Like a Jungle, which took place at AB, Ancienne Belgique, a very important concert hall in Brussels, the capital of Belgium. I played more and more, got picked up by other promoters, started playing in the different provinces, and I think a couple of years later, me and my friend Edwin and Kim, Ed and Kim, I mentioned them before, someone asked us the question if we could do parties at a new place in Hasselt called Musicaldroom. It was fairly new. It was a big hall. They had a lot of facilities for young artists and young bands, but they needed to draw people to their new venue. And we started doing our breakdown parties there on first every 2 or 3 months, and after a while every month again, and again sold out venues all the time. And I think this really got me a taste for promoting events. A few years down the line, we left MLD, we went to different buildings, we went to different venues, and I started a couple of other events. One in Antwerp was called Rampage, and one in Leuven in the legendary Silo Club, which is called Radar. And all three of those, Radar, Rampage and Breakdown, took place every other 2, maybe 3 months, so let's say about 4 or 5 times a year. Rampage got picked up by Door Festival. I started hosting a stage at Door Festival, which is in my opinion still the most interesting festival, the most amazing, amusing even festival in Belgium and maybe even in Europe and worldwide. So I'm really, really happy to be able to host a stage there every year. This year will be my 10th year attending Door Festival as a DJ. I've played 10 sets so far. I think that Rampage is now the main one since about 2 months ago, March 3rd. We hooked up with UKF, which is probably the biggest dance music community in the world, completely focused on dubstep and drum and bass. And we hooked up with them to do a one-off, very special party in the Lotto Arena, which is a very, very big venue, a very big arena in Antwerp, Belgium. It was called UKF Rampage, was the first edition, and it sold out. We had 6,000 crazy party people, and we had a lineup of about 25 artists, I think. We're gearing up now for the summer, which has another Rampage stage at Door. But then after the summer, September 29th, we're back at Lotto Arena for the second edition of UKF Rampage. And this time we're aiming at 7,500 people, making it the biggest dubstep and drum and bass event Belgium has ever seen.